Hello, welcome. This is
We're here.
We're here.
Together.
We're together. Phil and Steve in the Digital DJ Tips studio. Why am I holding this? Why are you holding that?
What, records, you
Yeah.
mean? Old-fashioned records?
Because this is a special series of 3 lessons. Well, we're going to teach you classic DJing, which is these, the DJs, the music you love, but with modern gear. Because it ain't about this anymore, is it? As much as we'd love it to be, you can't turn back the clock. It's not even about this anymore for most people, because for most people, it's about this.
Yep.
It's about doing it on modern gear, but you don't need to do all the stuff you see the YouTubers doing just because you own this gear.
This is about getting back to basics.
And
this
so,
is classic DJing, but using modern gear.
So we're really excited about this. We don't often get to work together. It's true. We are a remote company, people all over the place, but we've reunited for this special series. So who's it for? Let's be clear who we're making this for.
Yeah, so a lot of people in our community have been asking for this type of training. So this could be for you if you used to go clubbing, used to go raving, and you loved DJ culture and you always wished you could do it, and you're at that time of life now where you're thinking, you know what, I'm gonna have a go at this.
It's time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's time. It's definitely for you, this training.
You could have tried. You could have got something like this. Or of course, I keep holding up this because basically I can hold it without any difficulty. But you could have tried DJing on any kind of modern digital DJ gear and got a bit stuck. Or maybe even got disillusioned and thought, you know, especially when you go looking for help and it's all, like I say, it's all kind of like, it's not talking to you. So again, if that's you, this is definitely going to be for you.
Yep.
Who else are we looking at?
Well, maybe you've actually been a DJ for many, many years and you've never quite made the switch. You've dabbled with it, but you felt this is too complex for me. This is
still on this.
Exactly, yeah.
Or still on this even.
And you know that you need to update. You know that you've got to finally grasp the way that it's done in digital, but it seems too complex and too overwhelming. We're here, as we've already said, to get you back to basics.
Classic DJing on modern DJ gear. So let's introduce ourselves. You might not know who we are, who those 2 blokes are who are going to be teaching you this. So we run digital.
2 old blokes.
Yeah, well, go get it on. We've been there. We were there back in the day. We are the people who run Digital DJ Tips. And
you can put that down now, by the way.
No, it's not actually that heavy. I like it. It's a what do you call it? A crutch. It's a crutch. Cool. I'm enjoying it. Right, we run Digital DJ Tips. We run the company for well over a decade now, but we're certainly a lot of history. I will put it down. A lot of history in DJing that goes back a long way before that. So Steve, where did you start? What was your kind of journey to here?
When I was a teenager, I taught myself to DJ using DJ gear that I basically built myself. I used to be into hip hop and scratching, but just completely loved the culture and loved sharing music with people. And then through my teens and into my 20s, I moved to London, was fortunate enough to be there as part of the explosion of the rave scene in the late 80s and early 90s, and worked for record companies and distribution companies and nightclubs, eventually landing what for me was a dream job at Ministry of Sound, where I worked for 10 years, putting together all of their compilation albums through the 90s and into the noughties at Ministry of Sound. And then after that, turned into a teacher, and I've been here with Phil, Digital DJ Tips, teaching DJing for 10 years now.
He's the real deal. He's had millions selling compilations out there, this guy. He's on Discogs and everything. So my journey was pretty similar, really. I did a mobile DJing at school and moved into club DJing in the early 90s and promoted my own nightclub. Did quite well, actually, and ended up DJing all over the place, including in Privilege in Ibiza, the biggest club in the world. He's sick of hearing that, but I'm very proud of that. And you know, really got the bug for it. As I decided in my kind of 30s, I didn't want that lifestyle anymore, but I still loved the DJing. Drifted into teaching. Wrote Rock the Dance Floor, which is now in its 2nd edition, which is the best-selling book on Amazon on how to DJ. And along with Steve, built many DJ courses here at Digital DJ Tips, helping all kinds of people with all kinds of areas of DJing. But this is all about getting back to basics. We realised we haven't done this for a while. We haven't gone right back to the stuff that people are increasingly asking us. There seems to be a real push now, and it's been since lockdown, hasn't it? Since lockdown.
I think my story of how you and I started working together in this business is very similar to a lot of people out there, where I'd actually had my decks packed away in the cupboard for a few years. I just had lost the kind of spark for music and for DJing, and the idea of the world of digital got me fired up again. And once I realised the very basic things that I knew from the way things were done in the past and how easily transferable they were to the modern gear, then I was off and running and loving it. But it's just got so complex over the last few years.
Steve approached me. I remember it very clearly. I remember where we were. We were on a roundabout on a hot day in Spain, and you came up to me. You said, "Phil, I've bought one of these." And he literally had a Tractor S4.
Yep, the first one.
But the first one, yeah, not this one. And I don't know how to use it. I'm stuck, and I know I should be able to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, Steve, back then is what we're doing here for you right now. If that's you, watch on, because this is classic stuff, but taught on modern DJ gear.
Because I was pretty close to giving up. I was pretty close, you know, trying to plug things and connect things up and thinking this is just not doing what I
Well, you
want
made
to
a
do.
couple of mistakes as well. You bought some gear that was utterly unsuitable and all that. And
yeah, I bought a mixer that just had the word Tractor on the box. So I thought, oh, this must be everything I need, and I couldn't get it figured out. And so I've been there.
That's what we're going to do. So in this lesson, we're going to cover the gear. We're going to look at the old way of doing it. We're going to look at how that translates to modern digital DJing gear. And in the next lesson, we're going to move on to looking at music and mixing. Yeah. So once you've got the gear and you understand that it's nothing to be worried about, what to do with the music and how to do that stuff you see your favourite DJs from back in the day doing. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Shall we get started with the gear then?
Let's get into it. I'm desperate to get my hands on the decks, like the old days. So, a classic DJ setup calls for some classic tunes. Robin S, Show Me Love, Stonebridge Club Mix 1992, absolute classic. Sandy B, Deep Dish vocal mix of Make the World Go Round. So I'm going to get Robin S somewhere near the end here. And in my headphones, I'm listening to this deck, finding the first beat. Now you can't hear this, but in the headphones, I'm getting this track in time. That's close enough. And I'm going to start my mix here. Take the bass down. Still in the headphones only, getting everything nice and in time. Okay, I'm going to bring it up into the mix now. Little nudge and adjustment to make sure it's in time. And here comes that bass line. I swapped the bass lines there. Now I'm listening to this track in the headphones. As I bring the volume down, this is now the dominant track. I'm adjusting this one. I'm using the tempo fader here, or nudging, just to keep it in time for a nice long blend. And we're out into our tune. Classic tunes, a classic mix.
Good work, Steve. Now that was a simple beat mix, but of course simple doesn't mean easy. You were using the mixer, you were using the decks, and a whole load of tools across both of those things.
Yeah, my hands were going all over the place.
Yeah, to make that happen. So I think it'd be good if you could talk us through the tools on the decks and mixer, the tools on this DJ system that you were using to perform that classic beat mix.
Okay, so the first tool is this music source here, this deck playing the Robin S track, and then that is going into the other hardware tool that we've got here, which is the mixer, coming up through this channel, and I was playing that track. The next tool that I'm using is the deck on the right with the Sandy B track, and the needle itself is a tool which I was using to play the music through, but also to find that first beat. And then because the platter is spinning underneath the record, I'm also using the platter as a tool to cue and find that first beat, and then drop that first beat in the headphones. So the other tool that I'm using there is the headphone channel on the mixer, so that I can hear this deck without it coming out of the channel here. The next tool that I'm using is the tempo or speed adjust, so that I can, in the headphones, get this track in time. And a couple of other tools that I was using purely to get the tracks lined up and in the same tempo is a little bit of pushing here or a little bit of pulling back here which is nudging either way in order to get those lined up.
So you were using those three things, the tempo fader and the nudging
and the pulling and the pushing.
And the pushing, just it's a speed thing. It's all to the tempo of the tune.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next tool is being able to isolate or boost EQ, in this case the bass EQ. So I had the bass down on this. Once I had this in time, I was slowly fading this up. And then at that point when that big bass line comes in on here, I swapped these EQs here to bring the bass line in on this and drop this one out.
And what a bass line. I have to say what a bass line that was.
And then again, I'm using the headphone channel to flip over to this side, where I'm using the headphone channel as a tool to listen to this one and keep this in time as I'm bringing it out in the mix. So quite a lot of stuff going on there. Simple mix.
What I thought would be really good is if we could get you to perform exactly the same transition, same classic tunes, same skills, but this time, let's do it on some bang up to date modern digital DJ gear.
So the manual way of doing it, just like I just did it?
Just like you just did it.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right.
So here we have a typical and also very popular piece of modern DJ gear.
Yep.
And you're going to perform the same transition, same tools, look for the same functions.
Exactly, yeah.
So the manual way, just like we just saw it on the record decks.
On the old decks, yep.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Okay, here we go, Robin S. Got my first beat of the track here, listening in the headphones. Oh. That's very fast. Okay, get back to the beginning. And here we go. Bit more adjustment to get it in time. And we've got our bass line now. Now listening on this side. Just a few little adjustments here. Fading it out. And there we go. Into the next track.
Cool. So obviously there are some differences here to doing it on turntables. So having just done that, talk us through the kind of the main differences.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of the tools that I was using that I went through before, main difference, of course, is that everything that was in those three separate elements of the two turntables and the mixer is together in one.
Of course, it's an all-in-one unit, isn't it?
In one unit
so,
here,
yeah, of course.
It's all in one. And a big difference compared to vinyl is that there's no spinning platter. But of course, people who would DJ with CDs on CDJs wouldn't have spinning platters either.
No, that's true over on CDJs. So if you've ever used CDJs, then that's going to be nothing new to you. But if you have come from vinyl, then obviously, and they're smaller as well, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. But the main thing is that the platters, the control of the deck here is much smaller. The other big difference, of course, is this looks like an absolute spaceship, doesn't it?
It is. It's like a flight deck compared to old-fashioned
compared to the system that I had
We
before.
deliberately chose a classic Technics simple mixer to make that difference obvious when we're looking at this.
Yeah. So here, you know, there's all sorts of stuff that can be really, really baffling and confusing. We've got a big screen here. This has got loads of information in it, which can be like, oh my God, what's this all about? Is this helpful? Is this not? Is it confusing? All sorts of different controls like loops and cue points and effects, and you know, this is why it can be so daunting. But the fundamentals are there. The two platters, the tempo faders, the channels, the ability to listen in the headphones, and the EQ.
So the misconception a lot of people have here is that somehow, because this is so complicated, it almost looks delicate.
Yeah.
That they're not allowed to touch it. They're not allowed to treat it like you would treat turntables or CDJs.
It's true. It's true. It's like, you know, me there being very, you know, using this in exactly the same way I did with the turntables and doing a manual mix meant that I was going through the track and finding my way through the track by moving the jog wheel like this. It's amazing how many people buy digital DJ gear, they come to it and then they think, I can't touch this, I can't touch that, I can't move this, I can't move that. And they just get scared of actually being tactile.
I was going to say, do you think it scares people? It's like, I'm not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because ultimately this gear is based upon 2 turntables and a mixer.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
based upon that gear. And so therefore, all the controls that you find on that gear, you also find on this gear.
Yep.
Is there an idea that you're not allowed to DJ the old way on new gear? Because it's got all this extra stuff, unless you're using all the extra stuff, you're not allowed to do it. Play your music and the way that you've seen DJs DJing, because it's got all the stems and the loops and the pads.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a trap that you can fall into. Like when you move to a modern technology and it's got all of these things that you can use, that you think, I have to use all these new things and I have to do it with DJing with new music. So I've got to use new music and I've got to use all of these new technologies. And of course, if you don't bring the basics with you, this is what we're talking about here, back to basics. If you don't bring those with you, then you can just end up confused or struggling with all this technology, not enjoying the music because it's not music that you like, and thinking, oh, you know, modern DJing isn't for me, because you've left the basics behind.
So the new gear doesn't mean you're not allowed to do. It's a development of the old stuff. It's not a replacement for it. It's not a whole new way of doing it. So a couple of things I want to say before we finish today's lesson. The first thing is the beat mix that you did then, it might have been a basic classic beat mix, but basic does not mean easy. You're an experienced DJ with years of practice, and therefore there's some good news here, because a lot of the features, far from being something you should be scared of, have been put on here to make life easier for you, whatever kind of DJing you're doing, whatever kind of DJ you are. So in the next lesson, we're going to move on and look at what those features are, just the 2 or 3 things that are actually really, really good news if you're thinking of starting DJing with the music you love, doing the stuff you like to see people do, but on this kind of gear. That's the first thing. The second thing we're going to cover in the next lesson is, look, there's no records being put on here. There's no CDs being slotted into this. How do you get your music into today's DJ gear? It's a really big one, of course.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to bring you that. We can't wait to cover off those 2 final objections, if you like, at getting started, at getting back to basics on modern DJ gear. However, it's not over, because whether you're new to this and you finally decided to do it, whether you're an old school DJ who's still using an older way of DJing and you want to move to this, or whether you've tried to use gear like this and kind of come unstuck, we want to know, where are you at with this? Please tell us in the comments. We're going to answer every single comment from you underneath. And so do let us know, where are you on your journey? We can't wait to hear from you. But for this lesson, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you in part 2 of this Back to Basics DJ series. Classic DJing done on modern gear.
Yeah, see you there.